Welcome to Future Role Model, a podcast that praises the unconventional and redefines what it means to be a role model. And today I'm guest recording out of the People of Comedy Network in Chicago. I've done two other beautiful podcasts here with Rebecca Gibson. Gib Gabs, it's called, right?
Gib Gabs, yeah.
And I have James Webb on the keys today.
What up, everybody?
And I've done Joe Kilgallen's Pub here as well. And I did those back to back. And that was on my last visit to Chicago. And I got nice and toasty. So I drinking gin and juice. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it was a fun day.
That was a great day. I ended up getting real drunk that day. But this visit, I have my grandma with me, and I'm so excited for this episode with Grams. Now you can come onto the mic, Gram. You can say hello.
Hello, I am Grams. Grams Mo.
Grandma Mo, otherwise Grandmo. But my grandma loves to tour with me whenever we can make it happen, which tends to always be in Chicago for some reason. But you've taken a couple trips with me to Chicago now, and this will not be the last. So how have you enjoyed our trip so far?
It's been great.
I know.
Yeah.
It's getting you out of Wisconsin.
I've been in a cage for a while.
my grandma my grandma lives with my mom and dad, and they're, God bless them as human beings, but she used to ride motorcycles. She used to do cool shit in North Carolina, and now she just gets caged up every day before they leave the house for work. But it's been nice having you here. And today is actually kind of nice. I headlined last night at North Bar.
How'd it go?
Shout out to North Bar. It was really fun.
Awesome.
And I just love that space. It's such an intimate, cool room, and like perfect for hanging out afterwards. And it was funny, though, because we were walking to the show. I got dropped off at like some store in Wicker Park or Bucktown or whatever. What's that area? Wicker Park, technically?
Wicker Park, yeah.
And me and Grandma were turning on a side road. She's like, this looks dangerous. And when she says a place looks dangerous, you know it is. She lived in Chicago when she was 17. And I'm like, if you think
for
a place
almost
looks
30 years.
Yeah, I'm like, if you think a place looks dangerous, it's probably the ghetto. And I was like, no, Grandma, this is just Wicker Park. This is what hipsters look like. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't even know how to capture your whole life story because it's so intimate. I know my grandma's life story so well because A, we are best friends, so I know everything about her. B, she actually wrote a book and an entire memoir of her whole life story. You wrote the book probably, 7 years ago, 8 years ago? Probably. Because
whenever I was out to LA, we finished it.
Well, so exactly. So she wrote this book and typed it up, it was probably about 8 years ago. And then after my grandpa died, we flew her to LA to visit me, and I had pulled the book out of my email and I edited the whole thing, and I didn't tell her. So when she got to LA, I had a book launch party at my house and invited like everybody I knew over and printed a whole cover of it. And so, so her book is on Amazon. It's called Did You Know Her? And now you will. Isn't that cool? So her life story is out there for people to read, but I want to go more in depth about stuff because you've endured some crazy shit. And I think it's really funny when I meet certain people, even when I start to complain about something, I'll think, God, most people would go through something like you go through in your life and not be okay or not even be tolerable as a human being.
Well, because I never complained. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah. Well, you
just did what you had to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to mention about my book. On the front of my cover, purposely, you'll see a bench in a lonely area.
We picked that cover together.
On purpose. And there's, of course, nobody on the bench. It's a lonely bench in a lonely area because I went through my life alone.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Well, starting from the beginning, where do we even begin? Did you remember moving to, your dad was first generation from Sicily. So what was that situation like? Do you remember being, my grandma was born in 1942. Which is, you're old as fuck.
I am old.
1942.
I know, it's unreal. I don't feel it.
I know.
What I can say is my first very memory, I was 5 years old. And I can remember sitting on a little stool in the living room and looking at my parents. Now, I was only 5 years old. And I take no credit for this, but there was some depth already there when I was 5.
She's humbly saying she was intelligent and aware.
And I looked at my parents and I thought, God, they're not normal. They are weird.
Yeah.
And they were.
Yeah.
At 5, I picked up on this.
Mm-hmm. And you were the middle child.
Yes.
You had an older sister.
Yeah.
She was like 4 years older, though.
Which never, I mean, might as well never happen.
Right.
We were never close. She was not nice.
Yeah. She was jealous of you?
I don't know if it was that.
She'll never listen to this podcast.
I don't, oh no, I don't know if it was that because I don't think it was that. I had a brother,
mm-hmm.
you know, as you know, we were very close.
You two were like within 2 years
Tight.
of each other age, though. That helps.
Even 13 months apart.
13 months apart, yeah.
Always close. We
mm-hmm.
played together. We did everything together. We smoked our first cigarette together, you know. It's like, and back then that was a big deal, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
To smoke a cigarette.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
When you're 8 or 9, you know.
Oh, you did it that young?
Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't know that. Oh, my
yeah.
God.
We had
That's
a tent.
Big deal now.
It's
a big deal to do it at 27.
We had a tent. We kind of lived, there were woods in back of us, and
mm-hmm.
my brother and I would always go back there and make tents,
mm-hmm.
make a fort like
teepees kind of?
And that's where we hung out. We played Cowboys and Indians for real, and he hit me. He actually knocked me out once. I mean, we played for real.
Like what? Like throwing tomahawks at each other?
Yeah. You know, gathered sticks and made stakes, you know. But climbed trees like Tarzan, that was a big deal.
Oh,
we
yeah.
actually put ropes in trees and swung, you know.
Oh, my gosh.
But anyway, so my sister was never a part of our life.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just because she was older. I don't know. She just kind of had
too
this.
Cool?
She can't, no, not even that. She always kind of thought, I'm better. She's still like this.
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
I've met her
We don't
twice.
have a relationship. She thinks we do.
Yeah.
But we don't.
She's delusional.
Yeah. She's in denial.
Yeah.
It's like she's erased my whole past, like it never happened, but it did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like you've never been there for me.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't see her for years, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so I can go from 5 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
And that at that point was when I was noticing some abuse from my father towards my mom.
So your dad, because that's been a stream, we'll get to that later, but that's been like a track record, something that you've witnessed throughout your life from a lot of men.
Yes.
You've seen a lot of, you know, when you've been alive for 70 years plus, you see a lot of changes even in society and what's acceptable. Mm-hmm. Not that that was ever okay, but things were different back then.
Oh, yeah, and it was pretty typical, sorry to say, for, you know, Italian men were in charge. Mm-hmm. And they sort of owned their wives.
Yeah.
You know, more or less.
That's...
And my mom was very timid, which by no choice.
Mm-hmm. Great Grandma
you know?
Jenny.
Yeah, she didn't really have a choice. I know she lived in fear. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I don't know what happened because, again, I'm only 10 years old. My father was successful as far as building his own businesses.
He did. He had a burger joint.
He had a whole
bunch of them.
He had a whole block of businesses.
He started with the burger place, right? And then he started buying up all the places.
There was a barber shop, a grocery store,
yeah.
Skelgas and Sales, which, you know, was kind of cool. They sold, you know, stoves and refrigerators. And back then, they had a black woman come in dressed like Aunt Jemima. You couldn't do that today.
Oh, my God. No, definitely not.
Yeah.
But then it was cool, right?
It was cool, yeah. And then he had a liquor store and where he kept a gun that I found that, you know, just in case there was a robbery.
Yeah.
He never showed me where that gun was, but I found it.
Yeah.
I knew where it was. And then he had a really nice bar.
Yeah.
And
And you used to be able to get burgers for what, 5 cents?
I don't remember that, but I do remember sneaking popsicles out the back door to my friends.
To your friends?
From the grocery store.
I remembered you sneaking something. I couldn't remember if it was like hamburgers or fries or something, but
But something happened with him. I don't know what, but I started seeing him act very weird, and I started following him around the house, and I caught him 3 times planning his suicide. I knew.
How so? What did you catch him doing?
I caught him carrying a handful of sleeping pills. I always drew the bath for him. I was always waiting on my dad and my mom. I was a little servant, always.
You still do that.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I'm a mother hen, they call me. But I just like making people comfortable, even, people coming to my house, whatever. That's my job. But I was like that with my parents. I waited on them hand and foot. I did whatever I came to mind that would make life easier for them, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like my dad was a smoker, so I'd empty all the ashtrays and wash them. So my mom didn't have to do that, just that
little
kinda
things. Yeah.
So I would draw his bath, and I'd actually wash his back for him. Well, I saw him carry a handful of pills and put them under the bath mat. Now, again, I'm actually like maybe 9 at that time.
Wow.
Not quite 10.
And you were that observant.
That observant. And I grabbed all the pills, took them into the kitchen to my mother, and gave them to her. I didn't say anything. I mean, she had to know. I said, I found these under the bath mat. And there was no conversation. There was nothing. She put them in an empty egg carton. I remember where she threw them. I don't know why, just hiding them. But I'll never forget the look on his face. And I will say that people who decide to take their life, they're serious. And when it actually comes down to planning it and it doesn't work, it's like this huge disappointment.
Yeah.
They don't want to be here.
Yeah.
They've lost all hope. So when he came into the bathroom, I saw this look on his face, and it's a look I'll never forget.
Like what? Just
it was
extreme devastation?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
And what's also strange about that is a person who is in that situation, they don't say anything. Like a normal person would say something, where's my pills?
Yeah.
Not a word was said. He took his bath. I washed his back, and that was that.
And then you caught him one other time because
With a
the
gun.
third time he was successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the second time was with a gun. And I saw him, and he said, don't worry, it's not loaded. And he pulled the trigger and went off twice. It was loaded.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Outside, obviously.
Yeah, kind of outside our back door on a little deck, step up on the top of the steps.
And it was loaded. Oh, my God.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, again, what's weird about that was he said, see, I told you. It's like he was not in his right mind. See, it's not loaded. It went on. He shot it twice.
So how long was it between the first attempt and the third attempt when he actually was successful?
I'm going to say maybe just a month.
Oh, it was that quick.
Yeah, because I turned 10 pretty
Yeah.
much after, pretty quick.
Yeah.
A month or 2, it was close.
Wow. So it was right after your birthday that he actually was successful in committing suicide. And how did that go down? Your mother found him, correct?
Right. He hung himself in my closet.
Oh, wow.
With
Again,
a tie. I'll never forget
that
this.
you got him,
That
right?
I gave him.
I knew about that, but I didn't know it was in your closet.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Apparently, at that time, my mother called one of his brothers, and he was still alive when they found him. And he said, let me die. And he did. Of course, he was so close to death.
Yeah.
I don't know how he was still alive, but that's what I heard.
Yeah.
So, at that time, I was in the 7th grade, and it was a Catholic school. And that's another whole story.
Yeah.
But the nun called me out of the classroom, and she didn't have to say anything to me. I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
So what was your reaction to that? Because you expected it, but also...
Again, there was abuse. My brother and I were extremely abused by my
slapped
father.
around and,
Beat with belts.
Again, that was a thing
mean,
that...
back then it was, but I mean, they didn't care if the buckle hit you
Yeah.
in the head or wherever.
Oof.
So that was abuse. And my brother, unfortunately, was so sweet, such a sweet little boy. I mean, neither one of us deserved it. But for some reason, I never had a grudge. Or, like, I love my dad and my mom, you know? Nothing ever interfered with that.
Yeah.
But my brother,
it did mess with him.
Yeah.
He was the baby,
Big
too.
time.
So.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And a boy. Sweet, sweet little boy, you know. But back then, again, the Italian father is always trying to make the little boy this tough.
Yeah.
Little tough.
Right.
So.
Which is what he thought was the right thing to do. So after your father killed himself, what happened with your mom? Because that's what set off your whole track record of what became your future.
Right. She had a nervous breakdown, serious mental breakdown. So she was not.
Understandably.
Yeah. Exactly. So then what happened was lawyers and doctors stepped in. Obviously, and I don't have the amounts, or, you know, I'm a little girl, but she was left with money. And from what I'm hearing, the doctors and lawyers all took it, you know?
Oh, fuck them.
Yeah. I mean, they're treating her and they're saying you are not able to continue to raise your children. So to make that story not long, short, we went through a court system, and my brother and I were separated. Devastating. He was put into an institution and I was institutionalized.
Yeah. And these institutions, and I know stories because you've shared so many stories with me over the years, but these were institutions for juvenile delinquents.
Exactly.
Dangerous children,
Girls
problem children.
That committed crimes.
Yeah. So you were basically put into a prison,
yes.
a young people's prison.
Yeah. I mean, this was a prison. You didn't get out. There was.
And from hearing stories of what you used to tell me when the show Orange is the New Black first came out, things would happen. In that show, it's a show about being in prison. It's a scripted show, but I was like, holy shit, that's what you went through. You went through exactly what women go through in prison at a really young age. What age were you when you were institutionalized?
I was 11.
Yeah. Fuck. That's so young.
Yeah.
And you were there all the way through high school.
Till you did not get out unless you graduated from high school.
Wow.
So I studied. There's so much to tell about that place.
Yeah, I know. Start from the beginning of what you can remember.
Well, I studied very hard. Well, of course, you were on a very strict regiment. I mean, you did. There were by the hour.
Yeah. Which is funny because it still kind of affects you to this day. Like, you'll think ahead. You've always thought ahead
absolutely.
because of that.
Oh.
Even this morning, you were like talking about what we're going to do Saturday morning. I was like, Grandma, let's live in the moment.
Yeah.
Because you still are affected by that.
I'm extremely organized. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they scheduled every second of your day.
Yeah. Now, in my life, I appreciate that to an extent because of the life that I had to live. Back, not getting ahead, but raising my children alone and having to work and pave my own way. So it made me strong.
Yeah.
It wasn't fair. I didn't deserve it, but I look at it. And I've always been a positive thinker. I just have been. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. I know. I'm like that too, though.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I passed that gene on to you, obviously.
Thank God. It skipped a generation. I don't know what happened with my
Yeah,
mom.
it did. Well, that happens with twins. You skip a generation.
Exactly.
But so I'm trying to get back on the present.
No, it was we were talking about the institute being.
Well, again, it was a Catholic institution, which made it even stricter. Back then, people maybe don't know, but nuns weren't nice. They were cruel. They might not be nice now. I don't know.
I wouldn't be either if I never got laid.
But yeah.
If I had to pray every day and I couldn't have sex, I think I'd be evil.
Now there's different I don't know what to call it. There's nuns that wear all brown, and they're a segment of nuns that are not allowed to speak their entire life. They can only pray. A lot of people don't know this. Then there's the nuns that wear the black and white,
Yeah.
And they teach. They're the teacher, they teach in classrooms and whatever. But anyway, they're cruel. They they didn't hug you, they hit you with a ruler,
Oh my God.
I mean, if you didn't even get a good grade, your knuckles got.
So Sister Act is bullshit?
Yeah, Sister Act is bullshit. But again, there was one nun, and to this day, it's amazing how one person in your life leaves a mark. There was one nun that was so sweet, and she saw in me something that nobody else saw. She knew I didn't deserve to be there, and she would have kind words for me. But anyway,
Do you remember her name?
just Sister Daniel.
Sister Daniel.
Well, you called her mother. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't.
They called nuns mother, Mother Daniels.
Oh, yeah. I guess I
don't
have
know
heard
where,
both.
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
They're not motherly.
Is that why they...
Mommy dearest, maybe?
Right? Is that why
Mommy-
they
Mommy
changed it
dearest.
to sister? Because sisters are more bitchy?
I don't know. But I do want to say that I did exactly what I was told to do, and you by the hour. You shower at a certain time, you do homework at a certain time, you eat at a certain time. It's really crazy, but they did allow you to smoke there if you were, but only 4 cigarettes a day. You got them at a certain time, and that was your. If you did anything wrong, the cigarettes were taken. That was one of your punishments,
They gave you cigarettes that young?
Well, they didn't give you the cigarettes. Someone had to bring the cigarettes.
had to
You
have
had to
them.
get the cigarettes from somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
So-
a barter system.
But the minute that I entered and that gate slammed, I'll never tell you how that felt.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, well, you can imagine. It is like a prison. It's like when you seen them walk in prison and the doors slam behind, the gates lock, and they take everything from you. If you have any jewelry, you're stripped. And then you wear uniforms.
Wow.
Yeah. You're put into uniforms. And I don't want to prolong this, but it was a part of my life that was weird. I mean, it was hard. But again, I just did what I was supposed to do. Like, we had to get down on our hands and knees and actually scrub marble floors and then buff them till you could almost see yourself in them. I actually enjoyed that because I was by myself. Nobody was
something to
bothering me. Well, nobody was bothering me. I wasn't like, it's crazy, and it was hard work. And then you had to work in the press. I mean, those machines are like you see actually in cleaners.
Yeah, the giant.
Where the giant presses come down. We had to do all the nun stuff, their habits. And if you had one wrinkle, now we're little. I was little, back then. I mean, I
12, 13.
Maybe I weighed, 78 pounds. I don't know. I mean, I was real tiny back then. And so this press had to come down, and but I got it down. But that's something else to expect that from us girls. But that's what we had to do. So the kitchen was the funny part to me, because we had to make all the food. We had to do everything. We did everything for that.
To make it operate.
Yeah. So there was a switch on the wall, like a light switch, and that's how you turned the beaters on that were hanging from the wall.
Oh my God.
They're attached to the ceiling, and they're huge.
Like cake beaters or
Yeah.
like big.
To make the mashed potatoes and stuff. So I had to turn that switch on and
Bring the beaters down from the ceiling?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it's a pretty amazing. But what I wanted to say is, when I did first enter, the first thing those girls do that are there, they want to do a job on you. You're a new girl.
They haze you.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. They try.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm sorry. I was never a toughie, but you don't mess with me. You're not going to do that to me.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't deserve to be here. So what happened was, this girl was Italian. She put her hand across the door so I couldn't get through. And I remember
the old 1980s bully
Yep.
pose.
And I remember knocking it down and slamming her in the mouth. And guess what? Nobody bothered me. After that, that's all.
That's
That's all it
awesome.
took.
You just got to show him who's boss, Gams.
Yeah, and that wasn't me. I'm not a fighter, but you're not gonna. First of all, I don't even want to be. I don't deserve to be here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm going through a bunch of changes mentally in my head.
Yeah,
even being
young,
there.
where you're not even capable of really fully understanding it.
No.
You had to grow up way too fast.
Because when I went through the court system, by the way, the judge said, this is how a little girl would think. He said, do you want a foster home or, I forgot how he put it because they don't say institution, or private school?
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. I said, why would I want a foster home? I have a mother. I'm just a little girl.
Yeah.
Thinking, look, I have a mom that's alive. Why would I go to
Take
a
a new
foster
family.
home?
Yeah.
So they said, okay, private school. So actually I picked, you
didn't know.
by mistake.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? A foster home could have been worse. Who knows?
Yeah, it's right. It's true.
So I don't look at that,
Yeah.
but, so I did what I had to do.
And did you ever see Uncle Michael, your brother,
No.
during that entire time, right?
No, he did not know where I was. I did not know where he was.
So
that was
fucked.
devastating. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and he also never recovered from that mentally, but we'll get to that later. So
Right.
because this is the thing that Grandma would say, and she doesn't complain, but when I remember when I was going to prom for the first time, or when I was going to homecoming, you were like, you told me, appreciate this, because I never got these, and some people don't get these.
I never got to go to a prom. I didn't know what a football game was like, going to games, going out after a game.
And it's why you were always so supportive of me being so close with all my friends, because you were like,
Oh,
man, enjoy your freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was nice to know that this was because when you're growing up as a kid and you have, I hate to say normal life, because everybody's got their own normal, so it's really kind of a irrelevant term. But growing up, and if you didn't have any major hardships like yours, you just think everybody lives like that everybody's got friends, that everybody goes to football games, hangs out, rides bikes after school. Like, that is not a lot of kids' realities. And it's fascinating to hear that to even know that you came out normal after that.
Yeah, I mean, because seriously, I've lived a long time, like you said, and I don't know anybody that went through what I went through. I mean, it wasn't normal.
Yeah.
How many kids get sent away like that? It happened to me.
So when did you finally graduate? When you were 17?
Yes, I did my studies sooner. I studied hard.
Yeah.
So I could get out sooner, because that's how you got out of there. So I did get out at 17. But when I did graduate, I don't even remember how I got back to my mother. Maybe I really don't remember.
Yeah.
I think by bus.
Had you been anywhere for that 6-7 years that you
No.
were in there? Had
Oh,
you
no.
ever left the facility?
No, and girls did run. Girls did run away. Now the fence there's a fence tall, like in prison,
Yeah.
but somehow
Some would get out.
Yeah, but it was foolish, because they would find them and bring them back. I mean,
And
come
then
on,
they'd punish them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna find you. That never entered my mind. It just didn't, because again, I wanted my degree. I don't know, again, why I thought like I did, very logically.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just did. This is what I was told to do, and this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'll get out of here. And every time a girl left, of course, because, of course, at my time there, I would see girls able to leave. That was painful, but I know it wasn't my time. But
Yeah.
So, yes. So I went back to my mother's house. By that time, I don't know how to word it. You got to remember, I was a little girl, and she got rid of me. That's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
You got rid of me.
Yeah.
You didn't want me. So this is how I'm thinking. I don't want anything to do with you. I wasn't angry or mad at her. There was just nothing there.
Yeah.
There was no relationship. I hadn't seen her all those years.
Right.
She came and visited me a few times, but I didn't want her there.
Yeah.
I didn't
That makes sense.
want her there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which I feel bad about sometimes, you know, but again, I'm a little girl. I mean, I feel bad for her. That probably hurt her.
Yeah.
But I'm a little girl, you know, not
You didn't
thinking
know.
rationally. So anyway, I packed. I went home and I started packing what few clothes I owned. There's no way I was going to stay with her. It's really strange, again, when I think about what I did in my life, because I just did what I had to do. And there was a girlfriend from years ago that
You met in the institution?
no.
Or from before that?
Way before
Wow.
that I went and found her, and I said, I need a room. I need to rent a room somewhere. I need to find a job. So her mom let me come in and get a room. I said, I'll get a job. I'll pay you my first paycheck. Went to the University of Wisconsin, got a great job in the physics department.
You showed me that first room that you rented, the sun porch.
Yes.
When we were in Madison.
Yes.
I remember it.
Now back
You
then.
showed me that years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back then, it doesn't even exist anymore. There was this apartment building that was on the corner of Park. Don't know that. And University.
Mm-hmm.
Park and University Avenue.
Yeah.
So I'm right there at my job. I could walk to it. But what was so cool was it was one room with a screened-in front porch.
Yeah.
And
You showed me where it was.
yeah, and the bathroom was right outside my door. But see, they rented rooms in that whole house. There were like 8 rooms. Everybody had to use that one bathroom, but it was right outside my door. So it was like really convenient. That was like a big deal to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I would sit with screen in front porch, and because think about where I've been now. I've had no life. I've seen no life outside that institution.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just watch people walk, hold hands, sit on a bench, eating ice cream. Like that was a big deal to me. This is, you know, I hadn't seen that for years.
Yeah.
Had a great job. Back then in 1950, I think, 52, 53, I'm making $4 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
That was big money back then.
Yeah.
So I came right out of that institution and got that good job.
Yeah.
And I saved enough money. I knew I would want to get out of Wisconsin
Mm-hmm.
because back then everybody knew your life. They knew, you know, nobody knew what happened to me. For all they knew, I went away and had a baby.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
was,
they just
that's
small town gossip. They probably were
Exactly.
like, she was in jail.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then of course everybody knew the suicide thing, and
About your dad.
everybody knows your life.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to mention, when he took his life, there was no sadness on my behalf because I love my dad, but he was abusive.
Mm-hmm.
There was relief,
Yeah.
and people might have a hard time relating to that, but
I think that's a more common thing with losing certain people than you would think.
Mhm.
People just are afraid to say that because
Yeah.
it sounds like they shouldn't say that. But whether it's terminal illness you're experiencing or somebody who has emotional distress or something, I've seen a lot of people lose a lot of people in the last number of years, including myself, losing friends. Obviously, there's not, you're not relieved with everybody, but with some people, if they're sick, whether it's mentally or physically, there is a piece of relief that comes with that because you're like, oh, thank God I don't have to see them
they're not
suffer
suffering
anymore. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't suffering anymore.
Right. I mean, it's it's true, and it's nice to hear that.
And he was ill. Of course, I wasn't thinking of that. My relief was because I'm not going to get beat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still young. I mean, again, I hadn't had any outside interaction. My whole life was being locked up. So all this is new to me, being in the world again.
Yeah.
And I remember going in the bathroom at the funeral home, going in the bathroom, and this girl came in, and she I don't even know who she was. And she said, I'm so sorry about your dad. And I actually started laughing.
Grandma.
I know. I mean, you can't control your emotions. I'm honest. I've just always been honest. I didn't do that on purpose. But I started laughing. And she said, what's so funny? I said, you wouldn't understand. And I just... What, am I going to stand there and explain my whole life to her? I don't even know who she is. And I walked back out. Everybody's going up to my dad, crying, and bawling. That's how they do anyway. Italians, I don't know if you know how they are at funerals, but
I
it's
can imagine.
It's a trip.
Yeah.
Oh, my son. I'm sitting there, I'm going, oh my God. I'm thinking this, right? So when everybody's done, I go up there because now I'm this Catholic girl, little Catholic girl.
This is pre-institution, right? Yeah.
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 Well, I was Catholic in there too. I was very Catholic. I really was. I was the only one in the chapel every day. This is all I knew.
Yeah.
I went in the chapel every day with those nuns.
Yeah.
I put coffee on every morning for everybody. I just waited on everybody.
Yep.
But I went up and I kneeled. There's always a kneeling thing. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't.
In front of a casket for Catholics.
Yeah.
At Catholic funerals. I knelt down and I looked at my dad. And I don't remember what I prayed because, that's what you did. And I just prayed. And then I got up. And that was that.
Close that chapter.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's how you've always operated. When you close a chapter, it's just done.
I still do.
You still do, and we'll get to more of that, obviously. Yeah. But so in Madison, because it wasn't very long thereafter that you moved to Chicago.
Well, what happened in between was I bought a set of congos. That's when I first started playing congo drums, and back then they had what they called beatnik joints. Do you know what that means?
Yeah.
Okay. On State Street. And and you go in. A beatnik joint is where someone would read poetry, they play music. You could bring your instruments if you wanted, which I got. That's where I learned to play congos. And that was my little outlet. And my life is just me now.
I know, we still play the congos.
Yeah. But I mean, I have no friends. Who do I know? I don't know. It's still me alone in my life. I got a room. I got a different room then. I moved. I saved up my money. I started doing some singing. Started singing jazz back then.
My grandma has a really good voice, by the way.
I believe it.
And there was a place called Troy's Steakhouse. It doesn't exist, I don't believe.
Downtown Madison?
On State Street.
Mm-hmm.
It was, and that's where Grandpa Allen played. He was there from Chicago playing the keyboards. Now, I'm not old enough. I'm a minor. I'm not supposed to be in a club that serves alcohol, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still a minor. I was like 17.
Mm-hmm.
But I went in there and I said, I love to sing. I love jazz. Can I do a set with you? And that's how I met him.
That's my grandpa. So my grandpa is a really well-known jazz musician. He started his career here in Chicago. Alan Batts, AC Batts, the Batman. That's what they call him.
What happened there is...
so he was still young then. He hadn't had his full career yet.
He's only 2 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Very young, very handsome.
Yep.
He's black and Indian, a lot of Indian.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful wavy hair. Now, I wasn't into that. I'm just saying I was not.
Unbeknownst to you, you were only into black men and black people.
Oh, well, yeah.
My grandma.
Because again, remember, my parents were extremely prejudiced. You don't do that to me. See, again, I can't make sense of this, but I did not agree with prejudice. It was so happened to me as a little girl then, even before I got sent away. I was very ashamed of the white race.
Interesting.
Yeah, I became very ashamed of that part of me because that's not right. So I didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
Because back then you made a choice, if you think about it, And I changed everything. A lot of people don't know that. I changed everything. I changed all of my information that you fill out black.
Did you? She was like the original Rachel
Even my driver's
Dolezal.
license. Yeah. Yeah.
She would say she was.
You're either white or black, in this world still, which is really stupid because you can't even put Italian,
Yeah.
You can't put what you really are. You're either Spanish, white, black, or Indian, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of stupid. But so anyway, yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And I don't even know if I ever mentioned that in my book, but I became black.
In your mind.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, what happened there was because I wasn't thinking of a man in my life. Okay. He fell in love with me. For some reason, he just really.
You were singing with him and you guys were young. Mm-hmm.
He said, I got a gig in Canada. I'm going to, I don't know if everyone knows what gig means.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This is the comedy world. So,
Okay.
yeah, we know what gigs.
Gig. He had a gig in Canada and said, I'm coming back to get you. Well, I didn't know if he meant that or not. But when he came back and he was serious, I thought, sadly enough, this was my thinking, this is my ticket out of this place.
Mm-hmm.
He was my ticket. I didn't care about him. I was not in love. I didn't know what that word meant. Wasn't thinking of that. That was my ticket out of
Wisconsin.
Yes.
And out of your past.
Because I'm going to go to Chicago, this big city where nobody knows me.
Start over.
Don't want to be known. Start my new life. Yeah. I really didn't plan on ending up with him.
Right.
I just wanted to get there. So I didn't go with him. He went to Chicago and then.
You mean he went to Canada?
Well, I mean, when he came back, he went to Chicago from Canada. Mm-hmm. I mean, he came back to Madison, but then he left because at that time I was still working and I needed to get some more money. Mm-hmm. I needed a couple more paychecks.
Yep.
So anyway, I had a suitcase, and I told you this kind of the other day. I had a suitcase and a little black and white TV.
Yep.
Got on a Greyhound bus with my little suitcase and my one TV and went to Chicago. Of course, I went to his went to his house, his parents' home. Because
is that great-grandma Pearl's house?
Yes.
That's where I get my middle name from.
Yeah.
That house still exists on the south side.
Yeah.
Which I will be at next weekend for Auntie Lucille's birthday.
Yeah. But no, it was a different home.
Was it a different house?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember Pearl's first house. I was probably too young.
You were too young.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You weren't even born.
Oh, yeah. I didn't exist yet.
It didn't exist. Not here.
Not here. Yeah.
So, anyway, needless to say, and I don't want to go into all of that, his mother is the one that said, she didn't want us in her house. And we weren't sleeping together or anything. My God, there were 15 people in that house.
Yeah.
Living in that,
Yeah.
Yeah, because there were two sets of parents. There was Pearl and Obie, her husband, and then Obie's sister and her husband. So there's two sets of parents living in a 3-bedroom house with all their kids.
Wow.
And we're talking 1, 2, 3. There's
Grandpa
like
had what?
8.
6? Yeah.
There's like 8 kids there.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I was sleeping in a chair, literally. But so I go down into the loop because I'm going to get a job, and I got a job. Mm-hmm. Got a job right away.
Which job was that?
It was with an insurance company.
Okay. Mm-hmm. You've had some really cool jobs over the years.
Yeah, but that job I didn't like, but it was a job. I took the job, worked there until I could transfer to Encyclopedia Britannica.
That was your good job.
Greatest job.
I know.
Yeah.
You had that job forever.
I've had good jobs.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know why.
So how did things end up happening? So did Grandma Pearl convince you guys to get married?
Yeah, she said, you need to get married. I don't want you in this house not married. We weren't doing anything, but that was her thinking. You're
very traditional.
Yeah, you're together. You're here. He brought you here, so obviously. So anyway, we went to the courthouse and got married. And many, many women know the impression that a man can give first. How nice.
Yeah.
how nice they can be.
Yep.
Because, I mean, he was kind and he said kind words to me, which I'd never heard. God, you're, you know, because I kind of laid
Being
out.
told that you're beautiful.
Well, he kind of, I told him about a little bit about my life, and he said, my goodness, you didn't deserve that. You're so sweet, which I really was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really was. You know?
Was. Then. Notice she says was.
I was a sweet little girl. I mean, what else can you be?
Yeah.
You know, I haven't been exposed to anything. So, so as you well know, we got married and I went through 10 years of extreme abuse.
Yeah. It was a common thing on my grandpa's side of the family. It's interesting to hear these stories because it was common on your Italian side of the family. It was common with grandpa and all his... It's funny to talk about grandpa like that because I love my grandpa. I do.
Well, of course.
But I didn't know him in his abusive times.
Yeah.
But every man on his side of the family slapped their wives around.
Yes, they did.
Oh, pretty hard.
Beat.
And so that was something. How long did it take for that to start setting in?
It happened pretty quick. Because I'm the one that went and got an apartment. You got to remember, I'm working. He's not working.
He's a musician.
He's a musician. Once in a while, he had a gig. He really wasn't doing much like he could have been. But, you know, nothing, that never bothered me.
Yeah.
I was never a nitpicker. I didn't do that to people.
Yeah.
You know? So I just went and got an apartment, and then we moved into the apartment, and then that pretty much started. Now, you got to remember, he was on drugs, alcohol, in nightclubs.
Yeah.
Every night. So you're talking, you know, women. There were go-go dancers then, you know.
Yeah.
That was pretty much everywhere.
So they just party and hook up with people. And
yeah, and they're not, you know, they don't come in till 3, 4 in the morning, whatever. And I remember, so I'm going through all that, and it's tremendous. It's painful. I was not in love, but I'm married now. You know, I was never.
Which is
I mean, I have to be honest. You know, I thought it might have been a good life. Again, I didn't see this side of him.
Yeah.
Yet.
Well, and you didn't know better. You, like you said, you hadn't been exposed to anything.
Nothing.
So you hadn't had those young loves and crushes and heartbreaks. So you're having that now, and your first relationship is a marriage,
right?
Which is fucking crazy.
Yeah. So the thing of it is, back then you have to remember there's no out. There's no help. There's no such thing as women's shelters or any kind of help.
There wasn't organizations or anything like that.
Didn't exist.
Yeah.
So you have to have a plan. This is how I learned.
This was late 50s, right?
Yeah, and this is part of my institutionalized learnings. You have to have a plan.
Yeah.
If you're in a predicament, you don't, woe is me.
Right.
You figure out a plan. And so, but it took 10 years, and a lot of times people would ask why. Well, you know what? He wasn't around. He was gone every night, and then I went to work during the day. So we really didn't see a lot of each other, but when he was around, I was abused. For what reason? There's no reason.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything, you know. Who knows why? You know, for one thing, again, like in the institution, I didn't allow anybody to try to control me.
Yeah.
Never.
Right.
It wasn't a cruel thing that I was thinking. Just you can't do that to me. I am my own person. So a lot of times, whether I deserved it or not, because I didn't, but I would speak up for myself, and that was it. He'd haul off and knock me across the room because I talked back. You know.
Yeah.
Like I would say, "Oh, does that make you feel like a man now because you can beat somebody that's weaker than you?" You know, and of course that took it. It's all over now. I'm going to get it. But I didn't care. It never stopped me from speaking up.
Yeah.
For my rights, you know, who I am and what I don't deserve.
Yeah.
So anyway, that went on for 10 years. And
how long into the marriage did you end up getting pregnant with my mom?
About 5 months.
Oh, wow. It was really quick. That's what kept you around.
It was quick. Well, no. To be honest,
It wasn't that.
No, I never went there. I never would have stayed with him just because I had a child.
Yeah.
I just didn't have a way out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had the apartment, but how am I going to make him leave? You didn't do that. There was no way to do that. In other words, you couldn't get the law involved or the court involved back in those days. Nobody was going to make him leave.
Right.
So, you know,
and it just wasn't spoken about. I mean, and not to defend Grandpa, because you don't defend behavior like that, but, you know, knowing him now, you would never know. I mean, this was a behavior that was taught from generations to these men, and they had to learn to grow out of it.
Well, you got to remember, as you age, you do change, hopefully.
Yeah,
I mean,
you'd hope
you
people
do.
fucking do.
Yeah,
Some people don't. And that's a problem.
This went on with him for years
I
with
know.
other women. So,
Yeah.
Who knows who went through what? I mean, I know of one, as you well know. But yeah, I mean, look at his age. I mean, you know, he's close to 80 years old. I mean, hopefully
Yeah.
you calm down.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah. Well, and even when I was a kid, though, I mean, Grandpa was just sweet. You know, but I think that's what a lot of people do is when they realize their past mistakes, they try to make up for it. Like, he was always so good to me. You know, you would never have known, ever. And because of the closeness of you and I, that's how eventually, as I aged, you told me, you started opening up and sharing some of this stuff because it's really personal. And to still love somebody after hearing some of their past behaviors is a choice for sure.
Right. Right.
So, but yeah, you got pregnant with Mom 5 months in. So what did make you stick around?
No, there was no out.
There was just no out.
No out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm making minimal money. I'm paying for everything. I'm paying for the rent. I'm paying for child care.
Yeah.
So, again, I just did what I had to do. I never hated in my life. I have never hated. I've never, that just didn't enter my mind. He wasn't doing what he should be doing, but I just did.
Yeah.
I just did what needed to be done.
Yep.
I lived day by day, you know?
And when the kids were young, so, I mean, did he change at all after the kids were
No.
born, or did it get worse?
No, worse. Yeah.
Really?
It was just as bad, I can say. Oh, yeah.
But he was never like that towards the kids.
It did happen with Craig.
Maybe the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But he always spoiled Mom.
well, she thinks because words.
Yeah.
There was no follow through. You know,
with promises.
Just sweet words. My sweet little girl. I mean, if you hear that,
Yeah.
you know, but he
Yeah.
was, you know, so when I finally was, what actually happened, as you well know, he finally got a woman pregnant.
My
And
grandma Paulette.
came home and told me, because he didn't really want to leave. He didn't think he was going to have to. I don't know why he wanted to stay with me, because it didn't make sense.
You were paying the bills.
Yeah, exactly.
You were his
exactly. I
moneymaker.
was taking care of him. But I said, oh, well, guess what? You have never taken care of me. You will take care of her. You are going to take care of her. See, this is how I was. And I packed his bags, and I took him to a hotel. This is how I got rid of him. This was it.
How old were the kids at this point? Your mom and Craig?
Carmen was 9 or 10. Because, again, I married for 10 years, you know. And I went to an attorney, filed for divorce, paid for that by myself. I paid for everything. But this attorney wanted to drag him through the mud, right? And I said to this attorney, well, I need to back up. This attorney, I left. I didn't use this attorney. This is why. See, I was never ugly. I'm sorry. I've never been ugly. I said, no, you will not do that. If he doesn't want to take care of his children on his own, then it won't happen. You will not. You're not going to make him take care of his children.
Right.
So I went and got another attorney and I told that attorney right away, I'm paying for this divorce. Leave him alone. This is it. So that was kind of.
And so Grandma Paulette, who's still with my grandpa, by the way. I was just visiting them in January. They live in Arkansas.
Yeah, that's another whole story.
That's another whole story. But he got Grandma Paulette pregnant. She was only, 18 at the time?
Mm-hmm.
And not only did you give her your husband, but when she was going to give the baby away, you said, let me take the baby and raise it.
Yes, I did. I went to her and I said, why are you going to give your baby up? She said, because he wants to come. He doesn't want the baby, which blew my mind. I didn't know him, that part of him.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming back to you. I said, oh, no.
I don't want him.
I don't know what. No, I didn't say that. I said, I don't know what he told you, but I have given you my husband. Not too many women do that. No, he is all yours. He is not coming back to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been cruel, and I've never spoken cruel. I don't know why. I've always been kind. I've never hurt anybody's feelings, if I can remember, in my life.
Mm-hmm.
That was not me. I felt bad for her.
Yeah.
It's like,
because now she's stuck.
No, I didn't even think about that. I really didn't. I'm thinking of this child. And so I told Alan, not her, then I left, and he would come around to see the kids, which, see, I never stopped that. I never interfered with that. I never stopped him from being able to see his children.
Yeah.
And my children were young, and I just told him, I said, he wasn't a good husband. But that does not mean he's not a good father, which wasn't true. Mm-hmm. But I've never talked anything wrong about him to my children.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would have taken the baby. And to this day, she gave that child up.
Yeah, we still don't know.
I don't understand it.
Where she is.
It's not something I could do.
Well, and the crazy thing is that Grandma and Grandpa stayed together.
I know.
They're still together.
Right, exactly.
So they have a kid out there somewhere that they didn't keep.
And I'm thinking, what would happen if this little girl or, woman today found her parents and found out they stayed together, but they didn't keep me.
I know.
It's like, but so that's another episode of my life, and I did what I thought I needed to do, which they weren't going to let me have the child. Mm-hmm. I would have taken the child, as you well know.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like we need to take a pause here.
Okay.
Because we need a bathroom break, and I want to go into section 2 of Do You Care, James? If we do a second little chunk?
Yeah.
You're cool?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can leave that in.